Good morning, good afternoon. What is going on, everybody? It is your man, Major, aka Severin. I got like a million nicknames. What's up, everybody? Look, this is the 1024 experience where we talk about all things that help you grow not only your professional side of life, but just you as an individual. And look, y'all, sometimes I talk to you about different subjects that I might be the subject matter expert on. And then sometimes I have to bring those subject matter experts on the show so they can relay amazing information. And today's guest is no different from that. I guarantee you, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that you probably don't know anything about custom brokerage, do you? Now, if you do, I want y'all to hit me up on my social media and tell me that I'm wrong, but I guarantee you don't know anything about it. And I guarantee you that by the time we get done with this conversation, you're going to be a mini expert. And that's because I'm bringing an expert to the show. I want to introduce everybody to Jermeale Lewis Johnson, the owner, the founder, the discoverer of Just Your Broker, Inc. Good morning, Jermeale. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for coming to the show. Listen, I got to tell y'all, Jermeale, we were in the Metaverse. We were actually in Altspace, and that's the first time that I heard about this organization. I went and she was having a seminar introducing people to custom brokerage, and I liken myself to a guy that knows a thing about a thing. But I sat down and I listened, and I was like, oh, this exists, and this exists in a major way. So first, I want to thank you for kind of giving me that education and the insight. And I really want to encourage you to kind of help educate the audience about what you got going on. So if you don't mind, I want you to just tell us who you are and then tell us about Just Your Broker.
Yes. So my name is Jermeale Lewis Johnson, born and raised in New York. I'm a customs broker out here, and my company is called Just Your Broker, Inc. Basically, what we do, we're a customs brokerage firm, and we help people with importing and exporting. A lot of times you need to know the rules and regulations to make sure you don't incur penalties and fees. So I do a lot of education just to make sure they understand the process, to see if they need a permit or a license just to import. I help clear the goods with customs for them, arrange delivery of the goods. Sometimes they need freight forwarding. So really a lot of fine details depending on the mode of transportation as well, which you could check out my website to find out a bit more. But basically what I do is I try to make it a seamless process through the education portion of it.
Awesome.
Yes, of course.
Awesome. Okay. So you keep the world moving basically by doing importing and exporting well, and you're maintaining these regulations. This sounds extremely complex. Just looking at it from my side, having no knowledge of this, how did you learn this? How did you get into this?
So I actually my previous experience was doing airport security. I worked for TSA close to 10 years. And during that time while I was there, I had got my bachelor's degree, and I wanted to do something else. I didn't want to do security the rest of my life. So I was applying for jobs on Indeed, just like, okay, I got to get a job. I got to do something with this degree. It worked so hard for a degree. I didn't want to do the same thing. So I saw this company kept popping up. At the time it was called OHL, and I kept applying. The second time I got called for an interview. And when I went in for the interview, they told me they would hire me, but as a temp. I was like, I don't even apply for temp jobs. So I was a little disappointed because I was like, to leave a government job to something that's temp, that's not really secure. And, government jobs are really hard to lose. So I'm like, it's a big risk to really take that chance. So when I was first offered to me, I actually turned it down. And then I kept in touch with the hiring manager. And then I asked her, are you guys hiring full-time and permanent yet? She's like, no, we only hire temp. I was like, okay. I really wanted to learn a different industry. So I figured I had to take a chance, and I took a chance and joined the industry. I was able to gain a lot of experience only because I took advantage of whatever opportunities was available to me. So after a month, they hired me. Eventually, they changed their name. Now it's called Geodis. So it's a really big company. And then I found out the VP of the company was training for the customs broker exam. So I decided to take that class. He did it every Saturday for 2 hours. And all you had to do was pretty much take the old exams and test taking environment, come and ask questions of what you didn't understand, and he would just explain it to you. So you had to really be dedicated. So that's how I learned that really learned the most about the industry was to pass the test. It was a very challenging test to pass, but he really pushed us. If you were dedicated enough, he would push you. And I just made sure I learned from him, and I really learned a lot.
Wow. Okay. Amazing story. And so, Jermeale, then you then were able to take your knowledge and working for this company and then transition this into your own organization, right?
Yeah, so what I did, excuse me, what I did was I knew the importance of to keep learning. Like, even though you learn the regulations, in order for you to really learn something, you have to do it. So because there was limitations at the company I was working at, because I was good at what I did, they just kept me in a box and I didn't really learn outside of that. And I wanted to keep learning. So in order to make more money and to keep learning, I had to job hop. So I would say I job hop maybe after, if I would have had a job at like a year or two, it was time to go especially if the learning stopped. So I would just go to another company, learn how to do other things. So I'm like, oh, now I know how to do importer security filing. Now I know how to do fish and wildlife entries for like caviar, octopus, squid, things like that. So I just kept job hopping to learn more and more. So I went through, after that, I went to another company and then another one. And then eventually I started working for importers, dealing with like medical devices. I worked for an electric vehicle company. Like I learned so much because I job hopped to keep learning. And so I was able to master how to do everything from A to Z for my company. And that's how eventually I was able to start my company. And I figured out how to do anything I didn't know from there.
Okay. All right. So one of the things that, my listener audience likes to know about is being able to get into what somebody's doing. So, when I bring guests on, they talk about it. And a lot of times people are like, oh, Major, that sounds amazing, but how can I do that? So that's one of the things that I want us to be able to focus on, but not right away. Not right away. Before we get into that, though, I also realize when people come on the show and they have businesses have to make money, right? And so I want you to be able to speak to those possible business owners or I don't know if it's Fortune 500 or mid-size or whoever it is your customer. Who would be your target customer and why would they or should they choose just your broker?
So my target customer would be an importer or exporter. It could be almost any commodity because I've tackled many different commodities. I'll tell you the ones that I mainly deal with. Plants. So people importing plants. I used to clear a lot of plants from Indonesia. It would be someone with a pet. People travel with pets all the time. I clear dogs. So that's something that I've done pretty frequently. Dogs, clothes, from any country. Like I said, clothes, food, different types of food products. Certain food products, like I said, they have different regulations. They might have multiple government agencies. It can honestly be anything. I've even cleared a motorcycle this year. So it can span anywhere in the industry. It's just learning how the regulations go and what's required. But that anyone can really understand how to do that.
Okay. Well, look, I want to take a break, but when we come back, I want to get deeper into if somebody visits the website, what they can see, what they can expect, and basically how to navigate it so they can have the best experience possible. But first, we're going to take a little bit of break. You all go get something to eat, go get something to drink. It's the morning time, right? So go do that. And we'll be back in a moment. All right, everybody, we are back to the 1024 experience. Listen, y'all, if you are not familiar with the 1024 experience and you are trying to figure out, man, what's Major up to now? What is he talking about? The role, the focus, the calling, if you think about it, is based off this idea of, I just want to help people, man. You thought I was going to say something complex, but it's not complex. I just want to help people. I just want to make sure, but I want to help people in a way that's productive. If you want me to come in and help you perform surgery, I can't. I'm not a surgeon, right? But what I can do is use this mouthpiece of mine to connect with businesses and connect with individuals and connect them both up. That's a lot of connecting. I also want to be able to help people find their genuine, authentic self, because once you kind of know yourself and you understand truly who you are, you can understand what your passions are, right? But once you have those passions, how do those passions then turn into how do I take care of myself? How do I make money? What am I truly interested in? So I understand it's understanding the human and understanding what that human wants to do. And the 1024 experience is right in the middle of that. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. So shout out to my people in the Metaverse. Shout out to my Second Life fan that's constantly growing as well. Shout out to just, our general online supporters as well that continue to support the show. And thank you. Thank you. Can't say that enough. As we go into the new year, we're going to have some great experiences, much like we're having with Ms. Jermeale Lewis Johnson, who is the owner of Just Your Broker Inc. Jermeale, thank you again for coming on the show and doing this with me. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I want to dive into the website now. I want to get into just a little bit about the functionality of it. What can people go do? And I know this seems strange, but a lot of times I hear people go, I went there, I didn't know what I was looking for, what I was doing. So if I am, let's say I'm looking for your services, where should I go? I log in and then what?
Yeah, so the great thing about the website is we have a menu at the top. If you click on services, it'll take you right down directly to all the services that we offer. Of course, we're offering a little bit more now because we're doing import-export training. But generally, you can see all the details right there. The import-export, customs clearance, tariffs, classification, freight forwarding through partnerships that we have, delivery of the goods, and just the list goes on.
Okay, amazing. So that actually leads me into my next part. I want to get into now. You mentioned that the training. Now, I know because I got the inside scoop going back when we were even in OnSpace that you provide training to get into this. Now, like I said, for the layman's ears, this might sound super complex. Maybe even a little intimidating, especially when you say, man, there's an exam at the end. So I want to start getting into this idea of what that experience is like training to be a customs broker, but also what services do you provide and how can you help people navigate that?
Yeah, so with the customs broker exam training, I basically train people the same way that I learned. The person that trained me had over 40 years experience. I think experience is very important in the industry. So I provide a level of experience on how to navigate the test and other tips and tricks along the way that I've learned to help people. So I've just made it more modern. So a lot of stuff we do when we did training and with the way I learned was in person. Everything I do now is through Zoom. So all the material, pretty much all the material is free. We download the actual past exams and you do the actual exam. The goal is to make sure you know that you can do your test and pass it, complete the test within the time allotted. So that's the point of doing a test every week. Because if you're not managing your time correctly, you're not going to pass the test. You have to answer all the questions. If you know it's coming down to like 10 minutes time and you haven't gotten all the questions done, you should probably be filling in something just to make sure you have an answer there. So it's like a lot of test taking strategies, going over grammar. English is very important on this exam. A lot of people actually compare it to the law exam. So you want to understand what a semicolon means as opposed to a period. And those are things that are important to passing this test because that one thing could change up the answer completely. So it's just going through basic test taking techniques, but also you have to know how to navigate your material. And that's what I train people for. I think it's about 5 different types of material that you use when you're doing the exam. So you need to know when you're reading a question, I'm reading this question, what material should I be looking at? You don't want to go through all your material in the exam because it's a timed exam. So if you know that the question is asking you about bonds, I'm going to go to where bonds would be. So if you actually study your material, if you're asking a question on bonds, you're going to go to the Code of Federal Regulations, 19 CFR 113, because that's on bonds. So that's also labeling your material. So understanding how to navigate that is the key of what we're trying to teach. and areas where you're struggling in. Let's say you do the exam and then you come back to the class and you don't understand a lot of it. I'm here to support you and to educate you on how to understand that material, explain it to you, because that's important. If you misinterpret what you're reading, then you may put the wrong answer down. So I have to explain it to you in a way that you'll understand. Like I said, it's very wordy. Even when I was studying for my exam, I used a dictionary because some of the words I didn't know what it meant. You may want to get a dictionary as well. So those are things just to help you, because the goal is to help you pass. At the end of the day, I'm not taking the test for anybody, but I can train them on what they need to do to pass the exam. And that's what the training is for.
Awesome. Don't think I didn't catch the subtle flex that you just came with that code of federal regulations off the top of your head. Like, I picked that up. That's impressive. You know your stuff. All right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So for the potential student that's thinking about this, that says, maybe I don't have the background or the training or the experience to go into this, what would you say to them?
You don't need experience. Like I said, I started in the industry as a temp. I didn't know anything. So I came in and I learned everything from scratch. It was a lot to learn, but if you have the drive to do it, you can do it. I actually interacted with plenty of people that have taken the test and passed it with absolutely no experience, and they have passed their test. Now some of them have their license and some of them don't. But the experience, once you have that license, the value of the license is so important. People will hire you without experience. And if you don't have the experience, you can get training for that. And I offer training on how to, okay, you passed your test. You got to pass your interview, get your background check, get your official license. But before you even get that, I'm already giving people tips on things they can do to start getting education. Like I said, I do training. So at my company, we do import-export training as well. So you can come in, you can ask questions. And because I have so much experience, I can provide you material and stuff and learn how to navigate the material so that you can gain the experience. Some of those jobs you go on interviews, they ask you, do you know how to classify something? I do training for classification. I do training for the import-export regulations. So we can go over like free trade agreements. We can go over bonds. You have to know the minimum value of. We can navigate all that material so that you can understand what you need to know and how to find it. That's very important.
So then when they're walking in these interviews, they can confidently say, yes, I have experience doing that. I have some hands-on training that can then translate directly to real world experience.
Of course. Because even like I have software. With my software, I can show them how to enter it. All the software that customs broker use, they may not use the same software, but the information that's entered is all the same. So if you can know how to navigate the PGA, this participating government agency, message sets, then you can know what information you need to enter. We can go through that at my company. I can go through that with you and help you understand, what are you looking for? What should you be reading through? It's a lot of reading, but it can be done. Like I said, I had no experience when I came in the industry. And now I have my own company. Anybody can do it, but you have to be dedicated to learning.
Okay. Now, some of these might be a duh or maybe not, but I like to ask because, you got a diverse audience that listens. Based on background, are there certain background requirements? Like, is this a job that you can perform and get certified in if you have maybe a criminal record?
So I don't know the exact details on what they would stop them, but they said you have to have good moral character. So I've actually had someone reach out to me about that question before, and he didn't really give me details about what he did. But what I told them is maybe you should just call customs and ask them. He told me he reached out to them because I figured he'd be more comfortable telling them since he didn't really know them. And he said they told him you would have to take the test and go through the process to find out. The only thing I could really say that would maybe deny you is someone maybe doing any financial crimes, I would say. If you have maybe any terrorist ties, I don't know for sure on maybe not felonies. I'm not sure if they're going to restrict it, but the only way to really know is to call your local customs court wherever you're based out of and ask. And more than likely, like I said, they're going to tell you to go through the process. But if you feel like that strongly that you're not going to get it, then maybe it's not worth investing in. Or maybe you can still invest in the education because let's say you don't want to become a customs broker. You could still use this training to become an importer. Maybe you could start a business doing something else. The training is still beneficial to you because as an importer, you have to know what your responsibilities are. So you have to know how to classify your goods still as an importer, because customs says it's the importer's responsibility to classify your goods correctly. So that's something can still benefit you. Don't think that you're limited, like, oh, you can't be a customs broker, you can't be in the industry. You can still be in the industry, just on the other side.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And do you, I know like sometimes working in securities, like working with money and even some banking positions, one of the requirements is that you have to have decent credit. You know, you
Mhm.
can't have too many credit blemishes because they feel like you may be a risk of some sort of fraud if you have bad credit. There's some connection that they believe that they have with good moral character and having decent credit. Is that the case with this industry as well?
Yes. When you're submitting your application, they do ask for a credit report. So I submitted one of the free credit reports with my application. They do look into that. I don't know the parameters of it, but they can deny you based on your credit. So you really want to clean up anything that you have. If you have anything on like collections or anything like that, clear that up right away. Get that in order. After you take the test, I believe it's 3 years time to apply for your application. So if you don't feel you're ready yet, clear up your credit before you submit so that they don't question anything.
Okay. All right, good to know. Definitely good to know. Well, look, we're at that point where we're going to go ahead and take another break. But when we come back, I want to talk about the future of customs brokerages, if I'm saying that right. Just the kind of outlook on the job market as a whole, and the future of just your broker as an organization. So we're going to get into that. But first, we got to get into this, y'all. This is the 1024 Experience. We'll be right back. We are back, y'all. We are back, and I am sitting here speaking with Jermeale Lewis Johnson, and we're talking about Just Your Broker, Inc. I'm learning so much, Jermeale. I'm learning more and more. And I sat down and I sat in the seminar. We're gonna get into that, in a little bit, like some of the events and stuff that you have going on. But I want to address something that I know that a lot of people in America are dealing with. So my background is actually in recruiting. So for a number of years, I help people find jobs, find work. And I've watched the economy kind of ebb and flow, and the job market adjusts a lot of times based on the economy. So sometimes large swaths of individuals, will be downsized, let go out of a particular type of position. And that's all of a sudden my phone's ringing like crazy because people are looking for jobs. And we are kind of in an area where a lot of people don't want to say the R word, but, America's kind of in a recession, or the beginning stages of one. I would argue that we've been in one for a little bit. And so, we've seen some economic effects that'll come out of that. Grocery bills are going through the roof. People are having a harder time staying at home, and job security has been a massive concern for a lot of people as this landscape changes. I really want to get into how is the brokerage industry affected by the economy?
Well, I do believe, honestly, that the brokerage industry is what causes the inflation to go up, to be honest with you. During the time of the pandemic, a lot of people were shipping goods, and the price of getting it on the vessel increased, and that's what caused, those importers or exporters have to put that money back on their customers, which is us. So all that inflation that happened is because we were in current inflation in the industry. The payments of stuff we had to pay, so we had to pass it along. So like freight forwarding companies were charging way more just to move goods overseas, and that was put on us by the steamship line. So everything just trickles down to everybody else. Okay. Honestly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, as far as job security in this, as things get tighter, is there a worry that the job market might reduce in this brokerage industry, or does it kind of stay the same? Because there's some that say, hey, look, regardless of what's going on in the industry, we're not affected by it at all. Is that the case with you all?
Well, the thing is, it depends on what role you are playing at companies. I'm a licensed customs broker, but not everybody in the industry is. The license holds more value, so they're more inclined to keep you, because what happens is some of these companies, they have to maintain a certain level of licensed customs brokers there. And the only reason why is because of all the compliance that we have to maintain. The only thing that I really seen that came up recently was with AI, which some people were concerned with. But the thing is,
I was going to ask
custom.
about that.
Oh yeah. Oh, you want to
Yeah.
go into that now?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get
Oh,
into it.
sure. So with AI, one of the concerns, even I was wondering, like, could AI do what I do? Right. So I'm
Right.
thinking eventually they're going to get to a point where they're going to have AI. But the thing is with customs, they're not going to be like, oh, you trusted AI to do this and the AI messed up. There still has to be a person's check to make sure the AI is doing the work correctly. So that position is like my industry is still kind of secure with my license because we still have to check that AI system. If you set one up, we have to make sure they're following the regulations. Someone has to put certain things in place, and the only person who could do that is someone that's knowledgeable with the regulations. And more than likely, that's going to be a licensed customs broker. A lot of
Thank you
companies.
so much for saying that.
Oh yeah,
So often I tell our, and the listeners are just in casual conversation. People say the machines are coming, they're going to take all of our jobs. They're not going to take your jobs. How it's performed may transform, but as
yeah.
long as you can communicate with the machine, they're not taking your jobs. It's the people that can work with the machine that's going to take your jobs, that understand that you still need people, in place. So thank you so much for clarifying
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That kind of helps drive that point home.
And then people have to think about, let's say, so there's different ways that you can work as a customs broker. You can work for yourself, like I do with my own company. You can work for another company, that's a customs brokerage, or you can work for an importer or exporter. A lot of those importers or exporters hire customs brokers, and I've worked at a medical device company. Everybody on my team was a licensed customs broker. And the only reason why is because we have to maintain compliance, and we were importing and exporting so many goods. We have to classify the products. That's the harmonized tariff schedule that we go through. So that has to be done to make sure we're paying customs the correct amount of duties, the customs duties that we have to pay them. So if we misclassify our product, which is a big thing, and I talk about that in my class, if you misclassify your product, you can incur penalties and fees in the future. So these are skills that, customs brokers have. So you are very valuable in the industry.
Y'all hear that, folks? There is value. So if you're considering it, if you're thinking about it and you're teetering because you don't know, now you know. Get out there, get it done, get that value. And there's always value in having those certifications that will ensure that you stay in place when others might not be able to, unfortunately. So it's plain and simple, y'all. You just got to get out there and do it. Nobody said it was going to be incredibly easy, but nothing worth having ever is, nothing outside of tuning into the 1024 experience. That's super easy. All right, y'all, listen, I want y'all to know, because I know how you do. I know that some of you get to chopping at the bit and you're like, all right, Major, you've been talking and everything. This is great. I'm sold. I want to know what they got going on. How do I get in contact with them? If people ready to get into the brass tacks. Jermeale, this is the part of the show where we start getting into letting people know what you got going on. So, all right, I know a lot of people are going to rush to the website. They're going to check it out. Where can they find out what's next on there? And what is next? What do you got coming up?
So the best way to find out what's next is when you go on the website, you're going to click on the events tab, and that's going to lead you down to the upcoming things that we have with education. So the next thing we have is on January 3rd. We're going to have 3 classes every Wednesday on the harmonized tariff schedule. And that is going to be done teaching classes on the Metaverse. But if you're outside of the Metaverse, you can still join in. You'll be able to join in through Zoom. But we're going to teach you how to classify your goods. It's a free class that we're offering right now. So really come and enjoy the class, learn, ask questions. And we're going to teach you how to classify. So let's say you decide to import or export something. You can calculate how much duties you have to pay to customs so that you can factor that price into whoever you're selling your product to. So that's a great skill to learn. Please be sure to sign up right on the website. Another thing that we're doing is we're doing an import regulations and documentation boot camp. That is a paid class. But if you go on there, it's a 10-week class. So we're going to deep dive. And one of the other instructors that we have, Martin Ken Bear, he's actually a former customs officer. So think of the value in that. Someone that worked on the other side. He's also a licensed customs broker, just as I am. And he's an international trade lawyer. So we're bringing a lot of experience. So please be sure to sign up. That, like I said, it's a 10-week class. If you really want to take a deep dive into import regulations, that's the class that you need to take.
Y'all hear it. Look, it's out there for you. You just got to go get it. So we go there. That's the event. Check out the events tab. And I know there's like some resources on the website as well, right?
Yes. So on the resources tab, basically you're submitting your email and you're going to get a checklist. The checklist is so important. It's like basically a general invoice requirements checklist. So if you're importing or exporting something, there's a lot of information that customs wants you to have. So I sat down, I went through the 19 CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations, to see what does customs require. So this is very general because certain products require additional information. So if you want those lists customized, I can always customize that for you. But you want to know, what do you need to have on there? And you go through that checklist and you can check it off and make sure you have all those elements on there. That way you can know you're basically in compliance with the customs regulations.
Yeah, look, it's all there for you. The resources are there. The events are there. This woman is doing an amazing job of putting it together and setting it out there for you. And I call it baby burdening it for you, chopping it up and making it digestible in order for you to get it. So there is no excuses. If you are ready to do something in the new year to absolutely change your life and get into a field that has some longevity, then you need to connect with Ms. Lewis Johnson and find out exactly. Go and soak up all the knowledge. I know she's ready to give you that knowledge. Go and soak up all of that knowledge and do something amazing for yourself. Jermeale, give me your contact information one more time. Give me the website.
Oh, sure. So the website is justourbroker.com. And you guys, my email and my phone number is on there as well, so you can reach out to me either way. I always generally prefer emails if you want me to provide you more details. But you can give me a call and then I can write out the details for you and get back to you through email with more details for whatever we talked about.
Okay. And if anybody has any quick questions or anything for you, is there a social media or anything they can reach you on?
Yes. On my Instagram, Just Your Broker, you can go right on there. I also have a Facebook page, Just Your Broker Inc. You can reach out to me on either of those. I answer even after hours sometimes, so you guys can reach out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jermeale Lewis Johnson with Just Your Broker Inc., getting it done, keeping the world and America moving. Jermeale, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing the information. Let's give her some love, y'all. Let's give her some claps, some understanding, and let her know that she is appreciated. You might not hear it, but it's happening, I promise. Right now. So look, y'all, make sure you go justourbroker.com. Go check it out. Go support. If you got the slightest question, go and find out. There's no point in racking your brain and guessing. That's what the information is out there for. And that's what good people that are starting amazing businesses is all about. Jermeale, before I let you go, one of the things I like to do is let my guests give a last bit of advice, something just life in general. If you could give the audience any advice, what would it be?
The best advice I would say is do your research before you do anything. It can save you a lot of time and headaches. So I would say that.
Yeah, nobody likes headaches. Ain't got time to be dealing with no migraines out here. Look, ladies and gentlemen, again, Jermeale Lewis Johnson with Just Your Broker. Thank you again for being part of the show. And folks, that is it for this week. Look, I am your man, Major, and I appreciate you all tuning in. I know you could be anywhere else in the world right now, but you are right here listening to us. And I appreciate it, y'all. Until next time, make sure that you keep growing, you keep God, and you keep going. Talk to y'all next week.